Hello there. This is an interesting story. I think it pertains to pretty much everyone all over the world because we have almost had our privacy breached. Well, assuming, of course, that you are using Apple software, but really, once one company concedes on this, the rest may well soon follow. So I think this government overreach from the British government did threaten the privacy of all internet users worldwide. It's a good thing it was thwarted this time, for now, and we should definitely all be aware of it so that we can support the people standing up for our rights and stand firm against the creeping surveillance state that is being instituted all around us. So, Elon Musk tweeted, "This would have happened in America if President Donald Trump had not won," and this is a response to another tweet about Apple removing cloud encryption features from UK after backdoor order. Now, what is this backdoor order? Let's go to the Washington Post, by no means a conservative outlet, saying the same thing. Apple yanked encrypted storage in UK instead of allowing backdoor access. The company will no longer provide its highest security offering in Britain after the government ordered letting security officials see protected data. So, Apple disabled its most secure data storage offering for new customers in Britain on Friday, rather than comply with a secret government order that would have allowed police and intelligence agencies to access the encrypted content. The order, under the country's Investigatory Powers Act, reported by the Washington Post 2 weeks ago, requires the California maker of iPhones and Mac computers to create a backdoor capability, allowing authorities to snoop on iCloud storage anywhere in the world. That would nullify the technology in Apple's Advanced Data Protection Service, which provides such strong encryption that the company itself is unable to retrieve users' information. Apple rolled out that optional end-to-end encryption globally starting in late 2022, and I applaud them for doing it. I think that's a great idea. "We are gravely disappointed," this is a quote, mind you, "we are gravely disappointed that the protections provided by Advanced Data Protection will not be available to our customers in the United Kingdom, given the continuing rise of data breaches and other threats to customer privacy," Apple said in a statement. "Apple remains committed to offering our users the highest level of security for their personal data, and we are hopeful we will be able to do so in the future in the United Kingdom. British customers who already have advanced data protection will be warned later to disable it or lose access to iCloud." Now, why are they doing all of this? Apple did not mention the UK Home Office's order, the disclosure of which is a crime. So they are ordered to give the government a backdoor to your private data and to keep it secret, not tell you about it. The company, in a communication with Parliament in March, had voiced concerns about the potential for such a demand. Quote, "As we have said many times before, we have never built a backdoor or master key to any of our products or services, and we never will," Apple said Friday. A Home Office spokesperson said, "We do not comment on operational matters, including, for example, confirming or denying the existence of any such notices." So, in short, the government did make this demand. And that's what he's implying, for sure. Now, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss non-public matters, a British official said that the right to privacy was not absolute, that lawful access systems can be made secure, and that even end-to-end encryption does not protect against phishing and other attacks that gain access to a phone. I'm going to stop him right there. The idea that lawful access systems can be made secure, rubbish. Government databases get hacked constantly, and all of those ideas that, well, you need a court order, well, you need to pass this committee in order to gain access to your private data. Did you see the rates that they stamp approval? Basically, either 100% or 98% or something stupid like that every single time. Every single time they give access basically universally whenever you ask for it. These things are rubber stamps. They are not in any way protecting your privacy, and the requirements in order to accept this access to your private information are shockingly low. They can do it for any reason, including nonsensical ones, including made-up ones. Nobody checks, nobody cares. The moment you give up privacy for a lawful access, you basically gave up privacy completely. There's no difference whatsoever. The official also said any requests for data on specific people would still need to go through a confidential approval process, weighing whether it is necessary, with final decisions left to the Investigatory Powers Commission's office. Like I said, this is a rubber stamp, 99% sure. People familiar with the conflict had expected Apple to withdraw the encryption service rather than create a universal backdoor. Its action Friday does not fulfill the UK order. Apple can challenge that order in secret, but is not allowed to delay complying according to British law. I do believe that they would rather sooner withdraw from the UK completely than comply, because once they complied, their brand is tarnished forever. I think that's one of the main things they have going for them. Apple products are very expensive. They basically are exceedingly hostile to the right to repair, which makes everything more expensive, and requires you to replace when something breaks down instead of just fixing it. And they no longer innovate as they once did. So what do they have to offer? Well, I think they have a very inflated brand from their older days, and they have privacy. And if they give up on the privacy part, I think they will see a significant decrease in market share, but that's just my personal opinion. So, British officials said that strong encryption protects terrorists and people who like children in unethical ways. I call nonsense on both. The UK government, the first thing they say is, well, there was a terror attack. Usually, statistically speaking, mind you, the people who do the terror attacks are the certain people of, how do they call them, the Brits? Asians, even though they usually you'd say Asians as in people from like places like China or Japan, and these are not. You know which Asians we're talking about here, right? The ones who are mostly in the Middle East, those types of Asians. So the first thing that happens whenever there's a terror attack is don't look back in anger. Unless, of course, it's one of the very rare ones that was committed by a local. And at that point, especially if it's a man, if he's white, then you can, by all means, use this as a tool to pass on a lot of draconian measures against privacy, against the right to defend yourself, and so on and so forth. Freedom of speech. But usually it's don't look back in anger. It's not as though you're really concerned about the public health, protecting the public from terrorists. No. What you want to do is you want to censor and you want to surveil. And as for people who inappropriately like children, you have had cases, tens of thousands of women and girls being attacked that way, and you dragged it on for years, looking the other way, persecuting the family members of the girls and the children who were attacked when they tried to defend them, and basically trying to censor anyone who brings awareness to this topic. That's how you created Tommy Robinson as a public figure, basically. So I'm going to say you don't give a damn about these subjects, you just want to be able to surveil us. Next, the Home Office will now find itself in the awkward position of having reduced the security of many Apple customers when its mission includes protecting the public. Yeah, but only on paper, so they don't care. Technology trade groups and experts who had applauded Apple's service had condemned the UK order, in part because they feared other countries would follow suit. This is the important part. What we're talking here about is them demanding access internationally. Let's see, quote here. Apple pulling end-to-end encrypted backups from the UK market is creating a dangerous precedent, which authoritarian countries will surely follow, said Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, said in a statement Friday, reiterating concerns he has expressed earlier. The Trump administration must make clear that America will not accept foreign demands for US companies to backdoor their encryption. Cybersecurity officials in many democracies, including the United States, have recommended end-to-end encryption as the best way to avoid being hacked. Weakening encryption for the sensitive personal data that British consumers have on their phones is a worrying step backwards, Matthew Sinclair, head of the London office of the Washington-based Computer and Communication Industry Association, said in a statement. He urged the British government to ensure that the UK doesn't stand out as the weak link in international efforts to promote safety and security online. Apple still has multiple end-to-end encrypted services, such as iMessage and FaceTime video chats. It is only when iMessages are backed up to the cloud without the optional advanced data protection that they lose that encryption, and Apple can recover them if served with legal demands. Google's Android phones also offer end-to-end encrypted messaging, but only over Google Messages with rich communication services enabled. Android cloud backups are strongly encrypted by default. End-to-end encryption for communications between iPhones and Androids is coming, according to executives at both companies. Now, what they didn't cover here is that the UK order would not have just affected the users in Britain. The UK government demanded access to all Apple data on all users internationally. So the UK government would have your private information, anything is stored on the cloud, no matter where you are. And what's more, they also made it illegal to talk about. So essentially, Apple can't warn you that your info is being accessed by the government, or that anything more is being demanded of it. The government might be able to demand more surveillance, and Apple can't tell you. Basically, this was an awful precedent. And of course, if the United Kingdom, which is supposedly a democracy, but not really anymore, then what's stopping China or any dictatorship in the world, and there's still quite a few of them in Africa and the Middle East especially, from doing the same thing? Do remember that the lives of people that are, let's say, resisting tyranny in these countries, you don't even have to really resist the government. Just trying to criticize the government, just trying to bring about any positive change at all, their lives are endangered if the government knows that they actually uploaded anything, said anything online against what the government demands that they say, think, and do. And if we weaken encryption, then it'll basically become impossible to organize online in any totalitarian country, including the UK, for anyone. Basically, you'd be reduced to doing it physically in the real world, and even that is going to be very difficult as technology improves, especially in more rich countries where technology rolls out first, like the UK, where you have cameras everywhere with the ability to trace your face, and potentially soon we're going to get much worse. If you've seen my video about how they are creating sort of smart surfaces that you can just put anywhere on walls, on furniture, or whatever, and they will allow the use of radiation from cell phones and such to basically trace literally every minute movement and sound around you. So your breathing, how you move, anything, of course what you say, can be tracked anywhere in public, essentially, that they put these things on. So not even outside, not necessarily on buildings, they can put it on billboards, they can put it on public buildings. They can basically turn the country into a surveillance grid, and they are literally saying they are planning to do so as part of the 6G rollout. 5G, I believe they said that it might come to 5G, but it will definitely be integrated into 6G. And they're basically trying to justify such measures, saying, well, it'll help us, for example, figure out if somebody is ill or suffering a stroke or something, then we can immediately send help, right? So, or prevent crime. So it's a good thing that we surveil literally everything going on around you and potentially even inside your body 24/7. If you believe that this is the way forward, go ahead, vote for these people. I am going to do my damnedest to avoid being anywhere that has these measures on. Basically, to me, this is a red line. I would much rather fight than actually accept these measures, honestly. Now, of course, I'm not advocating for anyone to do anything violent once again. Now, the demands have been, how to put it, not just refused, but rebuked by this Trump administration. You can't expect the same to have happened under a Biden administration. Officials and allies like John Kerry and Hillary Clinton have, in many cases, said over and over that they are for surveillance and for restricting freedom of speech. So obviously, if this happened under a different regime, the results might have been different. The UK economically, I'm not saying that they are negligible, but they're nowhere near the strength of the United States. And also, it's not just economically, it's also politically and militarily. Essentially, the world hegemon is still the United States. And who knows, if they actually get a bit of positive news economically and such, they may well be keeping that title for a great deal longer. The client might be on the way out. Regardless, under these circumstances, Apple will not risk giving up the, how to put it, morals of the United States under Trump, or the morals of all Western democracies, let's say in the 1990s, early 2000s, maybe 2010 still. Basically, the morals of a true democracy where we don't surveil everyone 24/7. We don't have Big Brother. I mean, we don't literally have 1984, let's say, which is what Starmer is totally doing in the UK right now, building it up, and quite quickly too. If we don't notice, even foreign governments can force the same services and technology companies that serve us all to install the same surveillance without our country having a say in it, without our elected representatives doing anything to try and harm us specifically. They just have to look the other way when this happens, and we'll find ourselves in the same surveillance grid. So even if it's not your country, you are still impacted, and it's still important. I do hope that we keep seeing common sense candidates like Trump. Whether they be left or right wing, I don't care that much. I do lean economically more right wing. I think they just are correct on more things from the economic standpoint. But regardless of that, the important part is a common sense candidate is someone who sticks to the original values of democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, the idea that everybody should be treated equally under the law, rather than trying to fight for any sort of equality of outcome. No, the process should be fair. The outcomes, whatever they happen to be, they happen to be. But the process should be fair, and the rules should be applied equally, regardless of your race, gender, color, or whatever the hell else. And if we can't agree on the basic common sense principles that used to be universal like 10-20 years ago, then we'll end up definitely in some dystopia. Whether it's more like 1984 or Animal Farm doesn't really matter. I have to say, I really thought that the UK would have basically remained the same, whether Tories or Labour took over it, because I saw both of them using very similar rhetoric, with the Tories often bragging about how they are out-lefting the lefties. For example, with how many candidates of color and women they had, compared to the Labour that still are headed by a straight white male. It's very strange to me for a nationalist party to be led by a foreigner. How does that even make any sense? Regardless, I'm talking, of course, about Kemi Badenoch, yeah, the leader of the Tories in the UK right now. Although I will say the Tories have been masquerading as a nationalist party. They are not, and they have not been for a very long time now. The main point here is I can't say that I expected the level of dystopia that the Labour is exhibiting right now that fast. I thought that the same slow decline, the same descent into censorship and, how to put it, a two-tier society and restrictions on everything. Yeah, I thought that we were headed in that direction at a certain speed, and I thought it would roughly stay the same, maybe accelerate a little. No, it accelerated a lot. There was a jump, a noticeable jump, the moment that the Labour came into power. And I think they may be overplaying their hand. Perhaps I'm giving the British too much credit. I think any society is bound to experience a pendulum swing if you hit it that hard. With new restrictions, with worsening conditions, I think you are waking up quite a few people, whether you meant to or not. And I hope that that is the case. The Labour seems to be, right now, doing about as well in the polls as the Tories did when they were coming into this election. So basically, this was, I believe, one of the worst elections ever. And I believe that Labour now has the same approval rating. Hopefully the next elections will bring about the best results currently possible. I do believe that means Nigel Farage. I can't say that I completely approve of the guy, that he will solve all the problems, but he's definitely going to be a large improvement. Anyway, that's enough for me today. As you might notice, my voice is going. Thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.